Open Generations Government Roundtable Liaison, Government Liaison Roundtable series, I should say, and a special welcome to Riley Beaman, who joins us from North Carolina. We are going to have an interesting conversation today from one of the birthplaces of aviation in North Carolina. Riley serves as the UAS Program Manager at the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and also has a variety of current and past roles as well. I'm getting a lot of feedback on the line. If we could ask everybody to mute, please, that would be fantastic. So Riley came to the North Carolina Division of Aviation from higher education, and he was overseeing the Montgomery Community College's Public Safety and Emergency Services Department, and really saw the need for increased UAV, UAS education in this, really growing, kind of new coming field within the public safety sector. And he formed the North Carolina Public Safety Drone Academy. The Academy has worked to train thousands of public safety members across the state, from basic flight, how to do search and rescue using UAS, natural disaster operations, responding to active shooter situations, and advanced multi-agency operations. The Aviation Division also focuses on hurricane response, medical package delivery, and similar aspects as well. What's really neat is by establishing this academy within the community college structure, classes are 100% tuition free for all North Carolina public safety and emergency service members and their agencies as well. So I'm going to turn this over to Riley without further ado, and is going to give us all an overview of the North Carolina Program Flight Operations. And then after his presentation and discussion, we're going to open this up to questions. So please stand by with the questions that you might have. You can place them in the chat, but even better, please raise your hand, and I will address your questions in sequence. So with that in mind, we are recording today's presentation, and the recording will be available later on at the Open Generation homepage on the MITRE-Engenuity.org website. So with that, Riley, the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Brian. As Brian said, my name is Riley Beaman, and first I would like to thank everybody for joining today and taking time out of your busy schedules to log on and listen to me ramble about why we think North Carolina is awesome and all the different things that we're doing as a state. And to do that, I just kind of want to do a brief overview of kind of what we're doing across the state right now in UAS, AAM, UTM, and who we are, and really have a more interactive, more laid-back presentation, and allow for questions towards the end. So again, thank you guys for being here, and I'll go ahead and jump in. So as you guys see, our North Carolina UAS team is established through our Division of Aviation, which is a division of our North Carolina Department of Transportation. Our director is Mr. Bobby Walston. He oversees everything aviation, is one of the founding fathers of our UAS department. With that being said, as many of you may have already heard, Bobby has announced his retirement, and he will be retiring May the 1st after 30 plus years working for DOT and in aviation. So he's going to be greatly missed, and if you're interested, they'll be posting the job shortly. So anyway, we are going to miss him. He has been a detriment to our UAS industry and to the workings of getting it established and how we move forward. So he has been a big part. Myself,
Riley, I just need to step in real quick.
Sure.
Marisa, I think you're going to need to advance the slides at your end for everybody to see them.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So I think we're on slide 2 now.
Okay, yes, we are. I'm sorry. I was changing them on my screen, and I thought they were changing there.
I have your back, Riley. Just let me know when you'd like them to advance.
Yes, ma'am. Not a problem. Thank you. So you guys have met me, as Brian was saying. I came from a community college background and emergency management for 18 years. As he was saying, I did start the North Carolina Public Safety Drone Academy and established it within the community college system, as he was saying, to allow our members, emergency service members across the state, to get classes tuition free. And while I was doing that several years ago, our UAS department was being stood up at the same time for DOT. And through different circles, we found out about what each were doing. And the Division of Aviation found interest in what I was doing, educating the state. And what we were doing, we're focusing on large-scale scenario-based training. And so it wasn't just a Part 107 class. We wanted to give our emergency service members across the state, whether they be fire, law enforcement, SWAT, anyone, a chance to get behind the sticks, to actually put them in those scenarios and make them better pilots for those missions that they were going to be faced with. So I embedded myself into a special forces group, working very closely with the military and through law enforcement, and we got pilots from across the state that were very, very versed. These were guys that didn't just talk about it. They were actually pioneers for North Carolina in emergency services, and were actually flying missions well before it was being talked about. And so I was able to obtain those guys, and we started the academy, and we traveled the state through the community college systems and different 58 community colleges in the state, and taught these classes, these scenario-based trainings. And so it was a great deal. And the Division of Aviation brought me along for the ride when they started their UAS program, and I took care of all their trainings and a lot of their flight operations on site and for missions when they started. So it was I've been with them since their inception. I've officially been in this role for around 13, 14 months. And still learning a lot. I still feel like most days I'm drinking through a fire hose, but it's been a great time, and again, a lot that's being learned. Our business development manager is Miss Amanda Connor. She's vital across the state. She has served 2 years on the leadership team for North Carolina Global Transpark and 7 years experience as a public school educator. And so she brings a wealth of knowledge into the business development arena, and we go hand in hand everywhere across the state, promoting what we're doing UAS and aviation based to build business and industry and a workforce for both manned and unmanned. So she is a huge asset to us. Mr. Tom Walls is my right hand, my second in command. He's our UAS operations lead. Tom was the first UAS full-time employee hired by the state. He came from 17 years DOT photogrammetry. He's also retired or ex-military. And so he brought a wealth of knowledge as far as day-to-day operations. He takes care of all the missions going across the state where we serve with the different divisions. He helps oversee those throughout every day, every week. He is always here. He just won the Governor's Award, which is the highest award a North Carolina employee or citizen can gain. He won that this past year, and was the only DOT employee to win that award last year. So it was a huge, huge accomplishment for Tom, and we are very, very grateful to have him. And we can advance to the next slide. From our Division of Aviation, we have many roles that we oversee throughout the state. And as from aviation, is, of course, airport development grants and technical assistance, where we do anything from airport inspections to funding opportunities, building infrastructure, anything airport related we take care of. We currently have 71 airports across the state that we oversee. Our Division of Aviation is 2-story. We say the upstairs is all the airport guys, but they oversee everything, and they're constantly out doing different things. So it's just always a busy time around here, but we oversee anything airport based with those 71 areas. Unmanned aircraft systems. We'll talk a little bit more about that, since that's what I'm kind of geared towards, but we oversee that. Education and professional development. So we go out and we offer all kinds of trainings, whether it be through the Airport Association, whether it be through the man side of the house, and as far as training and updating and informing our citizens of North Carolina, or local municipalities or other state agencies. We spend a lot of time doing that. We spend a lot of time in community outreach. You'll hear Division of Aviation, we talk a lot about community outreach and buy-in, helping the different state agencies and citizens and things across the state. So a big portion of what we do is education. Aviation business development, as I said, Amanda Connor oversees, and we are spending a lot of time currently trying to get different businesses and industries into North Carolina. Why are we number one? and come here. You know, the same slogan that you guys are pitching in your states and areas. You know, we're just trying to attract the best and most that we can here to our state for different opportunities. State agency flight services. We oversee the governor's plane, and we also fly all of our administration. And we take care of those flights. We also house our photogrammetry plane. So we go out and fly missions with our manned group for photogrammetry. And then, of course, in our hangar, we also have our E-216 or the E-Hang, which is our drone taxi, which we have completed phase 1 of that flight, which is an unmanned flight. And we're working with FAA currently to do a phase 2 operation, which would be a manned flight, to where potentially our governor and our secretary are wanting to take a ride in that air taxi. So we're hoping to get that off the ground pretty soon. Next slide. UAS program office roles. What do we do on a daily basis? Currently, we oversee 2 sides of the house when we talk about UAS in North Carolina. We oversee the DOT operations, and then we oversee the FAA Beyond program operations. And we'll go a little bit into that program as we progress through the slides. But those are the 2 sides of the house that we are constantly referring to. For flight services for DOT, we'll go into some of the things that we're doing there, but just know those are the day-to-day operations for DOT, where we are overseeing and working with our different divisions as the champion of North Carolina and UAS, helping other state agencies and entities do flight missions on a daily basis, whether it be traffic management, whether it be public safety, anything in that realm, which again, we'll dive into, but we are always looking into that. The regulatory side of the house, we're working to create and promote, educate our state on UAS policies needed to help keep and protect our natural resources and our citizens. It's pretty simple. So we help, just like this week, as many of you may know, we are in our long session, North Carolina long session with our legislators, and many of those guys are contacting us wanting information on UAS as it's a hot topic. And so I was working with a representative yesterday on our current policy and laws, and what are they, and do we align with our Part 107? What are some things that we could potentially shed that we could get rid of? As many of you also know, we, as far as regulatory, we were the first state to implement and the only state currently to implement a permit program, and is much like a North Carolina driver's license. We oversee that through Division Aviation. It's a free permit. It is a knowledge test. You take the knowledge test or go through the knowledge test, then you sit for the permit. You can do it all online, and we house that repository much like we would for DMV. We spend probably, Tom spends around 2 to 3 hours a day each morning fielding troubleshooting questions on people can't log into their permit account. Hey, what do I need to do to get the permit? And just general questions. We spend a lot of time on that. So with that being said, I will be very honest with you. We have a lot of people who are very pro the permit, but we have more people that they see it as a hindrance. We're the only state that does this, and they feel that if we are doing or taking their Part 107, why do we need to come to North Carolina or be in North Carolina and take a permit to operate? And it's very simple. Some of the people get very upset about it, but what it is we're trying to educate our citizens to why we established a permit to begin with. And it's very simple. The North Carolina permit came out prior to the Part 107, and North Carolina saw fit that we needed to educate and to make sure our citizens were flying safe. They knew the laws, rules, and regulations, and that we were helping keep our natural resources safe here, being our wildlife, our parks and rec, places that we didn't want to fly, public safety, things like that. So we enacted the permit. As of today, the permit did exactly what it was supposed to do. It educated, it served as a registry for us to keep up with those individuals who were registering their UAS or interested in UAS operations. And shortly after the permit was started, the Part 107 came along. So will our legislation, will it change this year? Will they do away with the permitting system? That is going to be in talks probably in the next couple of weeks. And so we may end up making it where it is not a requirement for our citizens or those people entering North Carolina wanting to use UAS. And where it's a hindrance, just one example is for our natural disasters, which we'll talk about later, such as hurricanes. Anyone who's coming in to assist us, they have to get that permit before we can add them to our list of assistance from the state. And so a lot of times groups or individuals will get very frustrated that they have to do that. So this year they're going to be talking about that, and it may or may not be staying a requirement. We'll see. But again, it's all a form of regulations that we work with our legislation. Education, we spend a big amount of our time going around and educating our state on what UAS is and what AAM is, UTM, and how we're progressing as a state in this industry and field. With our education program, I would like to take a moment to talk about some of the really neat features where I feel like North Carolina is really stepping outside of the box and really promoting a strong education. Our K-12 system met with us a couple of years ago, and as we all know, there are STEM programs, and then there are CTE, or commercial technical education programs in our high schools. The gentleman who is over that program is Dr. David Barber for the K-12 system. And his favorite saying is, we do not stumble over STEM. They support STEM, but what he is interested in is getting students jobs from right out of high school. And so what he's done is he's taken all the highlights and all what he feels is needed across the spectrum of UAS, the Part 107, making sure a student has experience in software, whether it be drone deploy or different things. All the software is needed. Also flight time, being able to be a efficient pilot and be able to fly missions and obtain whatever information you're trying to obtain, making sure they can accomplish this. So what they did was, inside of our K-12 system, they took all those parts and they put it into the curriculum, and we assisted them in writing their curriculum, and they adopted it statewide through the K-12 system. And so now, starting in our middle schools, as a 6th through 8th grader, you can start in our UAS programs and then lead into it or follow into it into our K-12 system. So currently, as we speak, right now across the state, it's our second year, or the K-12 second year in deploying this curriculum. They roughly have around 2,000 11th and 12th grade people or students in the program. But that's not to mention the lower grades being 9th through 10th or middle school. So just in juniors and seniors alone, we've got around 2,000 students statewide. From the K-12 system, we've partnered with the community college system to create pathways from UAS. The community college, there's 58 across the state, and we have certain colleges that have aviation programs and or UAS programs. The UAS programs are set up either in aviation curriculum or public safety curriculum. Those students can come right from the high schools and enter that pathway with the community college system for 2 years. Through that 2-year process, again, now we've worked with the universities. The pathway continues into the university sectors with State University, Elizabeth City, UNC Wilmington, North Carolina A&T, a host of other ones, to where that student can leave the community college system with a 2-year degree in a form of aviation UAS background and go into a university bachelor's degree, master's degree, all the way up through their doctoral. So it is a really great program. The FAA has taken note of it. We've had several meetings with them lately, getting them spun up on how we did this, how the K-12 system did this, and they are looking at it as a potential model for other states. So we're very proud of that education system that we've got. Outside of that system or program with the K-12 system, we do a lot of stuff through aviation and through our UAS program in summer camps and outreach. We do a lot of tours, what we consider our show and tell. Education always extends to our citizens of North Carolina. We're continuously going around to different workshops, different conventions, things like that that are not necessarily aviation based, but we take the time to set up and go to these events with our team just to promote it across North Carolina to further educate North Carolinians on what's going on here in our state. In research, we're working with our universities to do different kinds of research. Numerous research practices and use cases are going on within our university system that are very, very neat. And we are very, very proud of those. We also have unique use cases that we do through DOT for research that we're doing across the state as well. Government agency integration, being the champion of our UAS program in North Carolina, we oversee or assist government agency integration. So we, at no cost, will go to any other state agency and help them set up their program. We will provide all their training for free. We even have a loaner program through DOT to where they can loan drones from us based on their use case and their need. So we'll continuously go out. It's not just we educate them and we're done. Once we educate them, we get them outfitted, we make sure that they're operational. We will go out from now on. If they ever call and say we need help on a mission, we need advice, we serve as advisors. So we do that with all state agencies and spend a lot of time on the road each week with our guys going out to different groups for different missions, or just for Part 107 training, or helping groups stand up. We also spend a lot of time going out to local municipalities. If a mayor calls or a economic developer calls and says, hey, we really want to educate our council or our school system or any group like that, we go out and spend a lot of time as far as educating those groups and helping them move forward in UAS and how it would benefit them or their areas. Next slide, please. So on my screen, it's not advancing. Is it advancing on other people's screens?
You should be looking at slide 5 now. Are other people not seeing that?
Yep, we're seeing 5.
You have to hit the button that says sync with presenter if you have that.
Actually, they're running it for me, and I don't have, it's not showing me any options, but as long as you guys can see it, that's great. So that's perfect. So the only thing is I'm going to show this video, and I'm not sure where it's going to be when we start. So Marissa, I guess I would just depend on you to kind of let me know when that video's over.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready to start, and I'll take care of that.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's see here. Okay, you can go ahead and start. So what you're seeing is our statewide drone support of emergency response during Hurricane Florence in 2018. And the reason we show this video quite a bit is because it is really the time frame in our state that really propelled our UAS program to the front. And you know, we spent a lot of time educating our public, but then we were able to implement it. We were able to show them this is what we're doing as a state. So in 2018, when Hurricane Florence hit, we did pre and post flights. We had 15 teams that were flying around the state, and we were seeing all kinds of different things. It was unbelievable. Areas were cut off, as you can see. It was just mass pandemonium in these areas. I-40, which is just synonymous with, it was shown all over the world. I-40 was in, you saw bass boats that were going down it, large military vehicles and boats. And to have teams on the ground, and when we first started our flights, and we had the Highway Patrol, North Carolina Highway Patrol, they started off that mission on I-40, and when they started, it was they were reporting back, hey, you know, we're roughly ankle deep water. By midday, they were saying, hey, it's to our shins. By evening, it was to their kneecaps, and they were saying that they had sea bass swimming around them in the middle of the interstate. So it was unbelievable. But again, 15 teams, we flew what seemed to be a bazillion missions. It provided real-time footage for our governor and our staff, executive staff. Public safety were able to see it. We put it all on a dashboard. We had a comm center set up here at Division Aviation, and had everything working out of Division Aviation. And believe it or not, for the first time, we had no run-through, no practice of this. We just literally launched it. Basil Yap, Darshan Devakaran, again, Bobby Walston and myself, we were all part of this, Tom Walls, and many, many other people were a part of this to make it such a success. But as far as a large-scale UAS operation, it went pretty flawless, to be honest with you. And it really, really pushed North Carolina forward as people started taking a notice of what we were doing here. And so we were very, very fortunate that we were able to get the exposure. Not fortunate that it was a huge disaster in itself, but we learned a lot from that. And from that, we were able to start a lot of new programs and some doors open with FAA for IPP program, which we'll talk about shortly, in our Beyond program. But it really, really started opening doors for us on what we were doing. Next slide. So with that, from the hurricane, we started branching out into operations, and things really was almost like putting gas on a wildfire. It was amazing how quickly things started progressing from Hurricane Florence on what we were doing. So for DOT operations is basically we're trying to do operations safer, faster, and less costly. And so you'll see the spectrum here broke down into traffic monitoring, surveying to inform environmental impact mitigation, herbicide spraying, infrastructure assessments, but things that we're doing as far as traffic monitoring. For just an example, last week in the city of Durham, we're going down for traffic monitoring because they have a food distribution day to where they give out food to the needy and to homeless and to different groups. And they do it one day a week. And in that area, they see around 1,000 participants one day a week in that area. So we were asked for the city to come down and fly it. And then DOT got involved because, as you guys can imagine, 1,000 people showing up, there were some definite traffic issues. And so we went down, we monitor it now. We're trying to help DOT and the Highway Patrol and different groups come up with better ways of monitoring that or setting up for that delivery or handout for food. So that's one area that we're doing for traffic monitoring. The other thing is our IMAP trucks, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes, but deploying our tethered drone system on our IMAP trucks. For surveys to inform environmental impact mitigation, think of volumetrics. We're constantly flying on the coast to look at different volumetrics on the coastline. On the coast, whether it be a hurricane or whether it be just a large rainstorm, there's a lot of sand that moves constantly. And so we're having to go down and we're having to do a lot of volumetrics missions because on our coastline, we have a large strip of highway where on the coastal side, of course, we've got large dunes that protect our coastal area or our waterways. In a storm or during large rains, that sand will wash inland, and so it'll cross the highway. Well, when it crosses the highway during this whole stretch of highway or roadway is a protected parks. And so we can't go across there to go on that land to get the sand off. So you'll have large quantities of sand that will wash across the road, and we can't get the sand back. So we have to do volumetrics and bring in tons of sand. And so we'll ship it in, and by volumetric studies through UAS, we're able to tell them how much sand they're needing and things like that. Also, we're also able to monitor flooding and areas to where we have, of course, as you guys can imagine, coastal homes that are in danger and things that we have to keep an eye on as far as that. So we do that quite a bit. 3D mapping on the coast as well, aerial imagery and monitoring, as I was talking about. And then also on the coast, we're doing herbicide spraying, environmental sensitive areas. And not just on the coast, but we're also doing in right-of-ways, interstates, different things like that. We have our environmental group does a lot of spraying through UAS, and we spend a lot of time doing that. And on the coastline, we're spraying an invasive species called Phragmites that grows on the coastline. Right now, we spray it so often we kill it. It does not decompose like normal plant life. And so it just stacks up when it dies, and it just gets higher and higher. And so now our U.S. and State Forest Service are utilizing drones to start prescribed fires or burns, as we call them. And so we're actually fixing to take our drones out, our fire drones out, and we're going to burn 65 acres of coastal front where we have sprayed this invasive species that's died to try to clear it off. So that's going to be something we're super excited about. We're aiming for December to do that. But again, we're going to be starting the burn with drones, monitoring it with drones, and then spraying. So we're very excited about that, and it'll be 65 acres that we're looking to do. Infrastructure assessment, much like what I was talking about earlier with Hurricane Florence, pre and post flights, also, and that's on the eastern part of the state. Western part of the state, we're constantly flying for land and mudslides. And so that happens regularly with large rains in the western part of our state in the mountains. So we're constantly doing that, and we're trying to aid our groups in the western part of the state in monitoring and mapping and different things to help with that. And then, of course, public safety. We're offering a lot of different things for DOT as far as the public safety realm with police and fire. Next slide, please. The next few slides I'm going to try to speed through just for the simple fact, give everyone a chance for questions and answers and kind of go from there. But we were the first DOT approved beyond visual line of sight bridge inspection. And so we found that, of course, as you guys know, with bridge inspections, it cuts time and cost. From where we were spending days with snooper trucks and rappelling units to go into large scale bridges, we turned those into hours. We could go in and do a scan of a bridge in hours versus days. So it allowed for faster inspections. Those of you not familiar with a snooper truck, it's just a truck with an arm that goes out and over the bridge and under, and you'll see one or two guys in a basket. And so, of course, as you can imagine, a drone seems to be much safer than hanging off the side of a bridge and a mechanical arm attached to a truck, or at least I think so. And then we have guys that are also rappelling into cavities of large bridges in North Carolina to inspect them. Using tools like the Skydio, we're able to go down into close quarters, especially into cavities of bridges and different structures, and do inspections. So again, it freed that up and allowed us to do so and cost efficient. We're currently working with different groups on some cutting edge stuff that I can't talk about yet, but we do a lot with bridge inspections. Folks know that, but we're hoping to change the game with bridge inspections pretty soon. And we're working with 2 or 3 different providers on making that happen, but we'll be making some announcements in the next few months on some different things that we're doing for bridge inspections that are going to be new and cutting edge. Next slide, please. First DOT approved for beyond visual line of sight drone in a box construction site inspection. Here in this slide, you see the Skydio drone in a box solution. We were able to deploy it in a new highway build that we were working on that incorporated 2 bridges into the build, and of course a swath of new interstate section before it was open. With that remote system or docking system, you can see we were able to set up from a remote location that DOT had used for an office area there on site. We were able to take control of that unit from Raleigh, of course with visual observers and all the proper paperwork and waivers. We were able to do this and operate the drone from Raleigh to fly those missions, and really to see how that worked. Just really a use case on how does Skydio's unit, specifically Skydio's unit, or any drone in the box solution, how does that work remotely, and how could that benefit our DOT operations? And one thing that I will say that we have really prided ourselves in North Carolina is, instead of being a state of demos to where we bring groups in and say, hey, can you showcase your technology or your products or your services, we are a state of, can we turn this into a use case? We want to see your business grow. We don't want you to come here just for show and tell. We want you to grow, and we want to do something that you can attain some form of information from whatever we do. So working with these different groups in state, we're able to do that, and it works out great because the companies see buy-in instead of just these guys want us to come and showcase our new products. So we're very proud of that. The other picture you see on the right of this is our new command center that we have. We do have a mobile command center. We just got a few months ago. It's a large van. As you see, it's outfitted for all UAS operations. Has a observation deck and landing LZ on top of it, large TV in the back. We have Starlink on it. We have to where we can live feed across or anywhere we need to. anything that you can think of UAS based, we've tried to pack it into this van in the event that we need it. And we utilize the van almost daily for operations across the state. So we were very excited about that. The drone in the box solution was great for the interstate. It worked perfect. Other things that we are working with now to deploy those drone in the box situations would be for public safety, for natural disasters, and for business and industry across the state. So we're working with different boxes, and we're going to be putting them across the state for different use cases. And so we're excited about that. And you'll hear more about it as the year progresses. Next slide, please. Very quickly, drone inspection of airports. As you guys can imagine, the images you see here, it's just another tool in the toolbox to where UAS was able to do this very efficiently versus our team of inspectors going out from Division Aviation, walking the area, or our photogrammetry plane going out, flying over the areas, taking pictures, coming back, having to compile everything. With our command vehicle, it can show up on scene. Here you see where we flew. We took 1,400 high-resolution images in 40 minutes. We were able to process all that data in the van, and then we were able to provide it to our team right then. So that is just a situation of where the UAS is an amazing tool, and as you guys know, it's just it does wonders. So again, cost efficient and safer. It's working great for us as far as different infrastructure inspections. Next slide. First U.S. deployment of tethered drones on the IMAP trucks, as we were talking about for public safety. We took our IMAP trucks. For those of you not familiar with those, they're trucks that DOT owns that basically are rovers up and down the interstate in North Carolina. If they see a problem, a motorist with a flat tire, there's a wreck, stranded vehicles, anything like that, they respond to those. And so you'll see in the picture, there is a sign that's attached to this truck. It'll move traffic over, different things like that. Being first on the scene, Tom Walls, my second in command, had the idea about a year ago, hey, what if we were to put a tethered drone on there and they were able to live stream that back to the communications center and to their administration to see what's going on. And so we took that a step further. We found the photokite system. The bonus to this is the photokite system. The drivers of the IMAP truck do not have to be UAS pilots. They do not have to have a Part 107 to operate this because it's a tethered drone. It's flying at 150 feet. It's built into the truck, and/or it has a generator and can be moved around the area of the truck. So we trained a unit for around a week to 2 weeks on this. We finished up training on a Friday. Sunday, the truck was deployed back out onto the interstate with the photokite. Within 2 hours of being deployed, it was dispatched to a 18-wheeler head-on collision. Two 18-wheelers hit head-on on the interstate. And so they flew for 6 hours. They live streamed back to communications here in Raleigh. They were able to send that information to oncoming public safety so everybody could see what was going on. What morphed from public safety is now that unit is using the tool not just for public safety, is what's the best way to reroute traffic? How long are we going to be down, or are we going to need to reroute? How much money are we spending? What equipment is needed? What personnel and manpower is needed? So the IMAP trucks with photokites have been a game changer on our interstates. And so they have been a very, very successful tool, and the program has gotten a lot of attention. Next slide. A really cool use case that we've got recently is our North Carolina Zoo system. They called, or Zoo called, and they said, hey, we're wanting to feed our elephants. And the only way that we could think about doing this is a catapult system or a drone system. And we literally Googled North Carolina drones, and your information come up, so we give you guys a call. Being a state agency, we went in, and what they're trying to do is provide what they consider snacks to 7 elephants in a safari land. And those snacks, as you see in the picture, are hay bales, which they call flakes. And so we had to come up with a unit that could carry and deliver these flakes across this safari land twice a day. And so we identified potential units. We built a delivery mechanism for that, and we helped the zoo deploy it. And so we went out and we tested it with the elephants to see how well it worked. It worked great. The reason for this is they can't just go out and throw hay in a pile. They want to keep some form of wildness in the elephants, and they want to keep them guessing on where this is coming, and it's just they don't become pets. So it was a very, very unique process. We had a lot of fun doing it. We're still helping them with it. And so you're talking about drones delivering. One key feature that you guys might find entertaining is the one thing that a elephant is deathly afraid of is a bee. Which is unbelievable. We did not know that, but when we fired the drone up, of course, we realized very fast. And then they told us, "Oh, by the way, bees are their biggest enemies." So for whatever reason, we had to learn how to operate that with an elephant or an animal that can stand on his back legs and reach 21 feet in the air. So, so it was a fun use case. Next slide. Our Beyond program, 8 teams, as you guys know, FAA based program where we are looking at beyond visual line of sight, scalable, repeatable, and economically viable beyond visual line of sight operations. We are one of 8 U.S. sites, innovative new partners added to a team roster. It seems like we're adding to that roster monthly. And then we're also focused on flying remotely piloted larger aircraft in addition to UAS. That's something that we're taking a strong interest in. And so our Beyond program, again, spawned off of the FAA IPP program, where we were extremely successful with that, and we were asked to be a member of the Beyond program. And it will be finishing in 2024. And next slide, please. You will see that with our Beyond partners, we have 17 partners. We have 5 more that we're fixing to bring online. So we are growing in partners, and each of these partners brings so much to North Carolina. We're very lucky. So as you guys see, I won't take the time to read through all these as you guys see it, and we're getting low on time. But some of the things that you guys will see is Zipline. If you're not familiar with Zipline, they had a huge announcement, medical package delivery in our Charlotte area of the Carolinas. Very, very prominent company. Very thankful to have them here, but they had some major announcements last week. Skydio, who we have mentioned, again, just naming a few: UPS Fly Forward, ONRA, AeroX, who is doing radar system here in North Carolina. They are making an ecosystem, UAS ecosystem in Winston-Salem. And so they're getting all these different partners, and they are focused on radar system. Climavision, of course, as you guys know, weather. In North Carolina, they've put 3 weather radars here. They're putting a 4th on our coast within the next few months. So we're doing a lot with these guys. Extremely exciting times as far as that goes. Accelerate is one of our newest partners. They come from the Virginia area, where they have a test site there. They have partnered with Washington Warren, General Aviation Airport here in North Carolina. Washington Warren was awarded $20 million last year for their airport. They partnered with Accelerate to bring in UAS operations along with manned operations. So basically it is a UAS test site, and they are test site for both digital and physical UAS operations, leaning in AAM, UTM, things like that. So it's a very, very growing area. Definitely keep a listen out for Accelerate at Washington Warren. Huge things happening there. We're very excited. And then, of course, our healthcare providers go without saying. Medical package delivery, different transports that we're working with them. We've got a lot of new use cases that we're going to be working through this year that you guys will be hearing about. So we're excited about those partners as well. And then last slide, please. Last slide, basically, where do we go from here? We have a lot going on here in North Carolina. I would be remiss to say that we don't talk a lot about the Wright brothers, because we do. The Wright brothers are a key feature of not just Division Aviation, but North Carolina as a whole. And so in doing so, we try to replicate that in Division Aviation in our UAS program specifically, because if you know anything about the Wright brothers, yes, they were the fathers of flight. But what most people don't understand or know is that they started off their business building bicycles. They tinkered with engines. They did all kinds of different things. And so they really, truly embody transportation. And so we want to move forward in North Carolina as such in that representation. So in doing that, it is, how do we work with the different modes here in North Carolina? So how does UAS cross the modes? That's something that we're working on. AAM, UTM, how do we build that out? We're creating ecosystems for that here in North Carolina. You're going to start hearing a lot about it in the upcoming months on some of the things that we're going to be rolling out, and we're super excited about that. And then infrastructure for workforce development. The key here is we have to be able to provide a workforce for all the business and industry to come to North Carolina. So in doing so, we have to have infrastructure. And to build infrastructure, we have 72 airports. We want to make sure they have what they need. And then in education, educating those people to take these jobs, to grow, to keep business and industry here. And so we have a lot of different things that we're doing across the state. It's a really exciting time, as it is in many of your states. UAS is a booming industry. And so I really want to thank everybody for their time today. Again, I know I kind of rushed through the last parts of these slides. I could sit here and talk for days on what we're doing at North Carolina because we're very passionate about it. But again, if you need to contact me, please feel free. If you go to our North Carolina Division of Aviation website, all of our stuff is under UAS, all of our contact information. Please reach out. We're an open book. We are so excited and willing to help any other state or entities. We're always constantly doing that. So any way we can help, please let us know. And I will turn it back over to Brian, I guess, for questions.
Well, thank you, Riley, and thank you so much for sharing the incredible UAS work underway right now in the state of North Carolina. We heard some really impactful use cases from Hurricane Florence response a few years ago to supporting elephants in the North Carolina Zoo, which I think is in Asheboro.
Yes, sir.
Some BVLOS bridge safety operations, some really interesting things going on. And I'm going to give an unsolicited plug to David McCullough's book, The Wright Brothers, since you mentioned the Wright Brothers. If you think you know about Orville and Wilbur Wright, I highly recommend reading that book because you'll surely learn a lot more about how many times they almost didn't survive, just taking the boat across the Sound to even get to the Outer Banks. Forget about getting the powered glider into the air. So some really interesting history of North Carolina and Ohio, for that matter, aviation history. I'm going to take moderator's prerogative and ask the first question here, and then I want to queue it up for our members also. So please get those questions ready. Riley, so what do you see as some of the communication challenges to BVLOS right now, and what would you like to see next? We saw some interesting things that you talked about, but do you see any challenges that are kind of holding things back before you can take it to the next level? Over.
No, absolutely. That's a great question. Is what are some holds right now? And I would be remiss to say we all know this, and we'll talk about it. We don't shy away from it here. We have a great relationship with the FAA. We had the new director here for our technical interchange meeting the other day. It was actually his first outing as director of UAS, and so the process is so slow in getting approval for beyond visual line of sight operations and many other things that we're working with across the state with our many of our 135 operators and different groups. But really is listening to him. He sees the speed in which things are being done. He is willing to step in to try to correct that. We're already seeing some positive results from that, and seeing to where some things are being sped along that have been sitting in the queue for 6 to 8 months. So really, beyond visual line of sight is just being, I guess in military terms, cleared hot to do it. We're providing the use cases, we're providing the paperwork, partners are providing everything needed, and just taking time and a lot of time at that. But they are addressing that. So as a positive for the FAA, they're addressing that. They see it, and they're working on that and trying to be start being quicker on the responses.
Do you work with other states as well, sharing best use cases or sharing? I know, like, I'm speaking to you from Virginia to your north, and we've also heard from Massachusetts a few months ago. They're doing some interesting use cases as well with commuter rail and track inspection and port inspection and things like that. I'm just curious, are you working with your peers in other states to kind of work through this brand new technology, brand new industry area together?
No, absolutely, we are. We spend a lot of time talking to Caltrans in California. We go out there quite a bit and share different use cases to where we work through them together, which is they have a great team out there. They're doing a lot of great things, as well as other states, but we try to partner with anybody. As I said, we're an open book. North Dakota, we've got one of our team members is going out there to look at their operations, and we are working through things with them, a host of other states. But yes, we try to work with anybody who's interested in working with us.
Excellent. To our members, anybody have any questions that you would like to ask? Or to Riley, do you have any questions for, I see we have folks from Nokia, from Verizon, from some other organizations as well. Do you have any questions for industry about where things are going with 5G or drones?
Sure. The one thing that I will say is a question that I'll pose to the group. If you're business or industry and you're here, we're doing a strategic plan right now. And so we're spending a lot of time with partners and industries talking about North Carolina and what it looks like for business and industry to come to North Carolina. And I would say this goes for any state here, is really beneficial for us is what do you guys look for? And I'm not saying that you need to answer this on the call today, but being able to say this is what we look for, this would help us out. These are laws, and for several states, maybe it's a law or certain policies that hinder your operations or could hinder your operations. Being mindful of things that you're looking for from states, because these states are willing to roll out the red carpet if we know. And so we're spending a lot of time today. We had back-to-back meetings all day talking with industry leaders and partners on what they're looking for and how North Carolina could do that. Along with, I know the other states would do the same thing. How can we best serve you? So, just keeping that in mind as well. And I think Mike's got his hand up.
Yes, Mike, go ahead, please.
Right, Riley, I can't let you get off easy, buddy.
I know. I figured you'd throw something hard at me.
So, yeah. So with all of the things that you guys are doing, all the ways in which the public in North Carolina has been exposed to drones, what would you say overall is the impression that the public has towards drones, drone operations, noise, privacy, whatever the supposed issues are? Generally, is it being embraced? Are there people out there that aren't enjoying it as much as others? What would you say the general feeling is towards drones in North Carolina?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Mike. And Mike is with us a lot, and so he can tell you we do a lot of outreach. There's always going to be those naysayers and those people that are anti-drones. That's just the world that we live in. The part that has really helped us, as far as a state, we're very pro drones. I feel like we spend a lot of time on the road talking to a lot of different individuals, and I feel like they're pro drone. But it's come with a price. It come with hard work and dedication to get out and talk to the citizens, the schools, the K-12 system picking up this aggressive UAS program has greatly helped. As you guys can imagine, if a child comes home from school to their parent or guardian or their brother or sister or to their neighbors and they say, oh, I learned how to fly this drone today, and we're doing medical package delivery, and hey, we can order our food tonight from Grubhub and have it delivered to our backyard here in North Carolina. When they do that, it's exciting, and it really gets to the parents, and then the parents tell folks. So, we spend a lot of time in outreach. But to answer Mike's question, I think as a state, and maybe Mike would agree, I feel that for the most part, people are pro drones, and we're very fortunate as a state that we are very cohesive together as state entities and agencies. We have a lot of people who are willing to work together and come to the table for UAS. I mean, everybody comes to the table. No one's saying we're bigger or better. It's everybody is very collaborative, and we work really, really well together. And I think that is a strong point for North Carolina, and the reason it is being adopted so well in our state.
All right, we have a question coming in. Which vertical will be the most impacted by drones? Will it be public safety, industrial, IoT, e-health, education, gaming, something else, etc.? That's an open question.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can help answer this question. I think for us as a state, I mean, I see where all will greatly benefit. Healthcare, of course, that would be huge. But I'll definitely, like you said, it's an open question. I'd love for somebody else to weigh in.
Hey, well, while we're waiting for that, Jerry from Verizon, go ahead with your question, please.
How you doing, John? Jerry here. Sorry for the background noise. I was just curious, what about urban air mobility, advanced air mobility, especially in the context of people, cargo, and even to the extent of multimodal with autonomous vehicles? I understand that your friendly neighbor in the South Carolina have been looking at UAM ecosystem. So I don't know, as part of the question, if you're doing any thing along those lines as well for synergies.
No, absolutely. We are working on AAM and UTM. As I was saying, we have different groups that are setting up, basically ecosystems across our state, pockets where we are working to build out AAM and UTM with radar systems and different industry leaders. We're trying to get AAM industry leaders here in our state, but we have several key components here, and we have some initiatives that are underway right now that I can't discuss quite yet, but we do have a couple of big initiatives based out of AAM and UTM that we are working towards as we speak. So big things to come later this year, but a lot going on. But we are looking to branch out in AAM and UTM. Absolutely.
All right, thank you, John. So stay tuned, right?
Yes, sir. Stay tuned.
All right. Do we have any other questions from the group?
We have a question from Amatava and Nokia in the chat box. Would you like me to read it?
Is that the question we, yeah, I think we've already addressed that
You
question.
do? Okay.
Hey, Brian, this is Ajit. I have a question for Riley.
Go for it. Yes.
Hey, Riley, and thanks again for joining for me. I have a question around in the transportation use cases you're looking at. If you had real-time video and point-to-multipoint, is that a use case you've already looked at? And if not, or if you're thinking about it, what are you hoping you could get out of that for incident response? Because I think today, based on what I saw, it was going from kind of drone to controller, and then you take data off the controller.
Sure. So as of right now, you're exactly right. What we're doing, we are, I guess you could say, live feeding from different areas in the state. The photokite streams directly from the unit, of course, and then some, of course, is from the controller. We're hoping to progress into larger scale operations. Right now, again, the state has been focused for years on small scale UAS operations, and I guess you could say, I hate to say the word small scale data, but in the future currently we're trying to utilize large scale drones for large scale operations. One would be photogrammetry. How would we utilize that across the state to capture things when we have our manned unit out here? And that is a use case that we're working on right now, trying to work through, along with LiDAR systems and different groups to where we live stream. Again, public safety does a lot as far as live streaming and video capturing, and they're constantly changing things and looking at things. One thing that, of course, they're having to deal with right now is in North Carolina, our public safety system is roughly around 95% DJI. So, nothing has been blacklisted here in our state, but they are preparing in case that happens and diversifying their fleets. So there'll be stuff that will be focused more on them as far as footage, live streaming and filming and things like that.
All right. Well, I think we're out at time. So Riley, I would like to thank you again so much for joining us today and joining our roundtable and sharing just really the impactful, amazing use cases and things going on in North Carolina involving the UAS sector. Some really interesting things. Again, please feel free to keep in touch with Riley. He has posted his contact information. So please do that and stay tuned for our next roundtable. I'm currently trying to develop a government roundtable that will involve talking to some of the local governments in Northern Virginia and how they use UAS for a variety of responses as well and use cases. So stay tuned for that later this spring. And with that, I'd like to close out our roundtable discussion with Mr. Riley Beaman of the North Carolina Division of Aviation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Hope everybody has a great evening.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hey, Riley, stay on for one moment, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Oh, well, I'll make sure I stop the recording.